Hi, Nethra. What's up?
Hi, hi.
Yeah. So, Nethra, first of all, thanks a lot for doing this.
Yes.
And I never thought that I'll be able to talk to you one on one like this. I always wished that I'll work with you, but never like this on one. And hopefully one day we'll work together. You never know.
Hopefully we'll work together, yes. And this is what I keep saying, the world of social media,
Yeah.
the world as it is today, it's just, we're all so much, it is possible to send a message to somebody, get them to actually connect with you, which earlier would never happen, right?
Yeah.
It would be a telephone call and the other end, the other person is like, who are you? What? And then be like, sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah.
This
So
is a different world.
that's the beauty of social media, and if we use it
Totally.
correctly.
Correctly. I agree.
So, Nithya, I'll start the questions. So, my first question to all my guests is always about the life before, before you became Nethra Raghuraman, the supermodel. So, tell me something about, how it happened and the story behind it.
So I grew up in a very it's a very conventional family. We are very simple. Um, like my mom till date only wears a sari. She's come to my shows, she's come to my shoots on and off. That's how my dad is, that's how my mom are. They've never changed. They're extremely grounded people. And I'm tremendously lucky to have been born in that house. Uh, so one of the things that happened is I grew up in a really small town, and I guess the sense of uh, beauty, perceived beauty by people, with their limited sense of understanding was very different than the way I looked. So I didn't fit into the conventional mode of what they call beautiful, that 5'2",
Yeah,
fair,
yeah, yeah.
sweet, chubby, rounded. None of that was me. That was me at 5'10", dark, a complete free spirit. I was the antithesis of everything they would call beautiful. So unfortunately, that was also rubbed in my face too often by too many people. And as I used to keep getting told about how I don't look good, or you're too tall, or your feet are weird, your hands are weird, your brows are weird. Look at your eyebrow. I've had the whole gamut. So I grew up with this like zero sense of me being good looking from any angle. So modeling was not anywhere in the picture. But then, whenever I would go tell my mom about this, my mother, who's my absolute strength, would look at me and say, are any of these people with you to help you when you need help? And I'd be like, no, mama. She's like, are any of them your friends to start with? I'd be like, no, mama. So then why in Lord's name do you have to care about what they say about you? I'm your mother. I am with you. I'm there for you. And I say you are enough. You're not perfect, but you are perfect for me. This is good enough. Why is it not enough for you? So, as I said before, I feel it's still difficult to just accept those words and believe, no, I'm whatever, because unfortunately, we all also look for a sense of acceptance from society around you. But it did instill in me a very, very deep sense of confidence.
Just
And more than that,
have your parents and such parents.
yeah, like I said, touch wood.
Yeah, touch
They
wood.
are my they are my absolute source of strength. Have been, still are, and all that I am, all that I have been, all that I am till today, the way I am with my family, with my kid, everything is what I have learned from them. And I am genuinely very lucky. For this, more than anything, for this one aspect. It's like, this is what I call, if people ask me, what is the one thing that you will say you would consider yourself most lucky for? It's always been this. Hasn't changed. So my mom kept saying, why can't you just, trust yourself? And I did, but it had nothing to do with my looks. And I used to keep complaining about my height because everybody was shorter. Everybody would have conversations, and I was here and they were here. I couldn't even hear what they were talking amongst each other. So I had become like, I used to hunch to hide my height. I used to bend to kind of be a part of this. And then I used to keep telling my mother that, Mama, I'm so short, I'll never find a guy, because so tall, I'll never find a guy, because everybody was shorter than me. So we were going through, my mother used to keep saying, you don't need a man, you just need yourself, like trust yourself, trust yourself. And one day when we were having our regular conversation, my mother looked at me and said, God, Nethra, why do you keep going on about this? And I said, Mama, what am I to ever do with my height? Like, what do you get out of your height? Because she kept saying it's a huge asset. You need to know how big an asset your height is. And I said, for what? So at that time, the TV was on behind. And those days, very, very few shows used to make it to TV. And Noinika Chatterjee was walking down the ramp in her resplendent hair and looking stunning. And again, she's not a conventional beauty, but there she was on stage, and her presence was amazing. So I just looked at my mother and I said, that's what people do when they have height, Mama. So my mom turned, looked behind me, and she saw the TV, and she turned back and she said, so what's wrong with that? And on that day, it was like, in a way, I didn't do anything about modeling even then, but it was a very big lesson for me to realize that my parents were so conventional and so simple and, so down to earth and absolutely not interested in anything to do with makeup or fashion or clothes. We literally are that simple. They can also look, like she can also look at something that is considered so unconventional and just say what is wrong with that. Like, there is nothing wrong. It's a job.
Yeah.
It's how you are in the job that makes a difference. It's just a job. And I remember going, yeah, I guess it's just a job. But then I started laughing because I said, Mama, it is just a job. But I said, the job is called modeling. I said, that's not for me. And I walked away from there laughing. I was like, my mother loves me so much. She just loves me so much. And I walked away. And surprisingly, a few days later, or maybe it was a few months later, there was an ad in the newspaper, Times of India, for the elite model look, which is, Times of India used to run only 2 contests those days, the Miss India and the elite model look.
Yeah.
So before me, Sheetal Malar had won it, Ujjwala Raut had won it, and that was a contest that was going on. Charmaine had won it, and this came up. And my mom actually brought it to me, because I never used to read the newspaper. She actually brought it to me and she said, Nethra, there's an advertisement here for this contest. It's run by Times of India. It must be good. Do you want to take part? And I was looking at my mother going, Mama, you're completely crazy. Like, obviously, I don't want to take part. It's a modeling contest. She goes, again, what is wrong with that? I was like, Mama, it's me. So she goes, yes, for you. What is wrong with that? What makes you think you can't do well? So taking her words of wisdom, I just went and dropped off some pictures that I had, like really bad ones. Really bad ones. And I never thought about it. I forgot about it. And surprisingly, I don't know, some weeks later or a couple of months later, something, I got a call back from Times of India. And they said, we would like you to come and come for the, or not, what do you call that? The auditions.
Yeah.
It's called the preliminary round. There was an audition. So they said, we would like you to come to Bombay. It was a shock. It was a big, big, big shock. But then I did go to Bombay, and it was a bigger shock when I got there, because all the girls who were there, some of them were professional models. Some of them knew how to, like, they all did beautiful makeup and they looked so good. They had such good clothes. I was standing there in borrowed clothes of a friend of mine and no makeup. Like, all I had was one lipstick. I was really bad. And I was standing there going, this is never going to work. But then I did my bit, and then I had to sit down and have a conversation. So I sat and I had a conversation at that time with Lubna Adam and Pradeep Guha. I don't even remember who else was in that room. I didn't know who these two were either at that time. And I know there were 2 or 3 other people in the room. So we had a conversation. They ask you questions to suss out how confident you are and whatever. So
Yeah.
I had a proper conversation, after which I said, thank you. And I left. Completely sure that this is the end of it. Like, I'm never, ever going to see anybody's face ever again. I went back. I told my mother, huge, huge mistake, Mama. Great experience. I got to meet all these people. And I said it was whatever, but please. So you should see them, Mama. They all had like big bags of makeup. My entire bag in my hand with which I traveled from Baroda to Bombay was the size of like a teeny tiny handbag because I needed nothing, right? Except those 2 outfits that I had. One outfit, I had to wear a swimsuit. That's it. Even that I didn't have. I borrowed it. So there I was. And then I got a call back about 15 days later saying, you've been selected. And that was a bit of a shocker. And I didn't want to go because we all had to put in some sort of a bond up front to be a part of it. Because I believe previously there have been incidences where people have broken hotel furniture and stuff like that. Also, if you don't put down a bond, people may change their mind and exit halfway through. So we had to put down a bond, which, to be frank, I didn't have. So I wasn't going to take money from my parents. I was giving tuitions that time. I used to give tuitions to kids and I was earning money. And I wasn't going to give all any other money for that. So I refused to go. And I refused to tell my mom also that I got selected. But somehow one day something, and she heard about it because Times of India chased me. There was a lady in Times of India called Devika Iyer who used to call me every second or third day. She used to call me to say, Nethra, trust me and come for it. And I tell her, I'm like, no way, Jose. One, I can't pay the money. Cancel the money, I'll come. And she's like, I can't cancel the money. You have to come for it. It'll do you good. I was like, no. So that went on for a while. And then I turned up because my mom found out. And then she was like, you're crazy. So she actually, spoke to my cousins and they all made the arrangements. And then I turned up. My dad actually came to drop me to the contest, although he was completely against me doing this as a profession, completely against it. But he still said, I'm not going to let my daughter go in alone. So my dad came with me. The first day, the orientation day, all parents were allowed to come sit through orientation. So my dad sat through it. And then he left that night and he told me, he said, just take care. This doesn't seem like our world. And I said, Dad, I told him, I said, Dad, this is not our world. I promise you, this is not our world. It was not our world from any angle. And somehow I was there for 42 days. And out of 42 days, it was not the nicest 42 days. I think I was tortured. Many of the girls, there's a lot of when they realize that you have a chance at winning, some people become friendlier,
Okay.
which happened to me. And some people become total horrible humans to you, which happened to me a lot more. Also because I had zero inclination that I could win. You see, because I have come from years and years of hearing that I don't look good. So I have no dearth of confidence. I'm confident enough to know that I can do a good job. But I was also extremely sure that I didn't look good and there was no chance of winning a modeling contest. That was that. So I was just there. I said, I'm not a quitter. So I was there, finished the contest, and I was looking forward to going back the next day. And that night,
you're definitely not a quitter. I will come back to that a little later, that you're definitely not a quitter.
I'm definitely not a quitter.
Yeah.
I've proven this to myself too many times in my life that I am not a quitter at all. When the going gets tough, I dig my heels in and then I go. So that is me, which is great. And again, this is a lot of it, again, has to do with the strength that I have got from my parents.
So this is a thing in you, because whether it's this modeling contest or much later on, Khatron Ke Khiladi. So when you enter,
see, again, that's what I meant. I'm not a quitter.
Yeah, when you enter a contest, you win. So,
the thing though is, it's true. It's been that way a couple of times. Suchwood. It's also though that both times I didn't want to go, and both times I didn't think I had any chance of winning. Literally, this look, Khatron Ke Khiladi was so many years later. I was already a supermodel by that time and stuff. But that was completely different because that was. It was all about doing stunts and stuff. And I refused to go into a roller coaster. I hate roller coasters. I cannot swim. I've never tried to go underwater. There I was. I'm petrified of cockroaches to a point where I stopped breathing. I have serious issues, serious, lots of issues. And with that, I went into the contest. It's just that I dug my heels in. I said, I won't quit. Yeah, but I will give my best.
You are a competitor, and that's, I think I've noticed this thing. That's a thing with, champions. That when the going gets tough, they get tougher. Like, so, for example,
Yeah.
look at Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
So like, he never takes a match lightly, but when he goes to Australia, that's when you see, the toughness, because
Yeah. Because
that,
he needs.
yeah, the crowd is against you, the players are against
Yeah.
you, sledging and everything,
Yeah.
and he makes sure that, I'll make a century and I'll win here.
That is it. That literally, and I don't know, I mean, what causes that in people. I think a lot of it has to do with what you hear as you're growing up, and also how you are ready to, what you're ready to believe in, and how you work on yourself. So for me, it's the same thing. If I feel that people around me are pushing me down,
Yeah,
I will then fight. If people around me are just like, yeah, you're great, be there, then I'll take it easy. I actually will not fight. You will never see the fighter in me, because I don't care. Then I'm like, yeah, it's all good here, peaceful. So I will coast through. I'm one of those. I'm horrible. I will just coast.
but it's a natural thing. It's a natural instinct.
Yes, I'm sorry, this might happen. My mom is trying to call me. So I will just keep disconnecting it at some point. Ay, ay, ay.
No
I'll
worries.
have to call her back.
No,
Sorry. Sorry about this. It may happen again. I warn you. Sorry.
no worries, no worries at all. If you want to take it, you can take it also,
Yeah,
because
it looks like the next one arrives. I may have to just take it and say no, but let's see.
yeah,
So, yeah, anyway, so I did it. And that night I got announced the winner. So my plan for the next day, which was take the train, go back to Baroda, join MA, and start studying my psychology, kind of went down. And yeah, that was it. I was declared the winner. And then you automatically, I did go back to Baroda, and I was so clueless that I did join MA, and I started studying. And one day I got a call from Times of India, and they asked me, so what are your plans? Pradeep asked me, Mr. Guha asked me, what are your plans? And I said, what plans? I'm studying. He says, I have you under contract, right? So he thought I was being difficult, right? So I was like, under contract? Yeah, for what? So he said, Nethra, you represent the country in the next contest. And I was like, yeah. So he said, so what are you doing in India? What are you doing in Baroda? Like, why aren't you coming back? And I said, oh, I didn't know I'm supposed to come back. And he's like, are you for real? And I was like, yeah, I am. So he said, I need you here tomorrow. And I said, I can't come tomorrow. I have university. He said, you go today and you tell them sorry, and you're coming here tomorrow. So literally overnight, I had to go tell my university that I can't continue, that I need to take a break. And I told them I'll take a 1 year's deferral and join the next year, but even that didn't happen. And then I came back to Bombay in a day or two, and then that was it. And then I started getting trained, and then I went for the international contest, and there I didn't place in the top 15, which is they're like the people who get the contracts. But for whatever the reason, they still pick a few girls who they feel will have a good chance or whatever. So I got signed on by Elite, and I was supposed to go to Paris. That's the agency that had signed me on. And I was supposed to go to Paris. But then for some reason, in the beauty that it is post-contest, they forgot to inform me that I was supposed to go to Paris. One day I had gone to the beach in Nice, which is where the contest was. I came back to my room to discover my bags are missing. And the only clothes I had left was what was hanging behind the door, because I was in a swimsuit. So I was like, whatever happened to my stuff? So I got dressed, I went down, and I'm asking the people, I'm like, what have you done with my bags? Where are my bags? Like, where are my clothes? Where's everything? So they had told us to stay packed because they suggested we may have to change rooms or something. So, things were by and large packed, but they looked at me and they said, your stuff, but what? Everything's been shifted off to Paris. And they're like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Paris. And I said, no one told me anything. So those 3 hours that I was on the beach, people had gone and most probably reached Paris also. And there I was sitting without clothes, without anything, going, what am I going to do? So then they were all in this happy space. So they all laughed and they said, ha, 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 it's okay. And then a couple of them were driving down to Milan. So they said, why don't you just drive with us to Milan? And Elite used to make clothes those days, which they would give out to their models. So I was given a big bag full of clothes. And they said, here, take clothes, take whatever you want. So I was allowed to dig. I was like, anything I want. They said, anything you want, sweetie, just dig. So I basically got an entire wardrobe at that point if I wanted, which I did. And then after that, they told me to travel with them to Milan. When I went to Milan, I got signed on in Milan also. And it was Fashion Week season in Milan. So it was coming up in a month. So I stayed back. I did my Fashion Week. I didn't know who was who. Patrick Demarchelier shot me, but I didn't know who he was. Like, I didn't know how important it was. When I told this to Mr. Guha at some point during one of my phone calls, and I said, there's a photographer called Patrick, I don't know his surname. So he said, what does he look like? And I said, whatever. And he said, Demarchelier. And I was like, yeah, I think it was a DEM something. It was a really long name. And he was like, are you crazy? He's like, do you even know who he is? And I was like, I had no idea. So because, this is before Google, and this is before like the web being available to you in your hand. It was all just too far away and too new. And, I came from a really, like I said, a very small town. So I stayed in Milan for some time. I worked. Then I came back to India. And then it was difficult.
How was the first experience? Like first assignment, first photo shoot, or a first walk on the ramp? How was the experience?
Milan was, I really didn't know what was happening to me. It was very weird. Like grunge was in at that time. So the look that's called grunge. Yeah. So, they would take me and try and turn me into this whole grunge look. Like my hair got cut differently. They would, half my face would get covered with hair. The makeup would be weird. They would make you look what I thought was ugly at that time. And I'm sitting there going, how is this helping me in any way? And it was actually it was a wrong thing to be in Milan at that time. I should not have been in Milan. I should have been in Paris. Paris would have suited me perfectly. Milan was the mistake. Okay. But I didn't know head from tail. And these guys thought that I would work in Milan for like 2 or 3 months, and then I would move to Paris, which is what they told me. They said, do this and then move to Paris. By now, they have sent my stuff back also to Milan. So all my stuff from Paris had arrived in Milan. But just the experience of working in Milan was so drastic and so difficult that and it was so lonely. My God, it was so lonely that I was just unhappy and I wanted to come back. This is one of those times where I could not embrace the situation. I couldn't accept it. I couldn't embrace it. And it was a huge setback for me. If I had learned to embrace the situation at that time, it would have been very different for me. But all said and done, I came back to India. And then in India, it was hard, because truth be told, there is a contest once a year. Miss India produces 3 winners. Elite produces 1 winner. So there are 4 winners every year. Glad Rags used to happen. They would produce a winner or 2. So if you go, and I also became one of those people as I grew up, like, when I entered the industry, they wouldn't know me from Adam. They don't know me. So even if I won the contest and I go and I tell them, oh, I'm Nethra and I won the Elite Model Look contest or whatever, they'd be like, yeah, okay. So, because you are just one amongst many others, and you are nobody till you prove that you are somebody, and the proving is the hard part. And for people like me, I have never budged on my value system. So I had to prove it, but I also had to prove it within the confines of what I considered my morals and my values. So it became even more difficult. Plus I had no financial backing. Plus I was living in Bombay. I came from Baroda. I had zero help. I didn't know a soul. So much so that I used to live in Bandra through Times of India initially, and then I had to move out. And then when I came back, I was, you just look for advertisements. Those days it was newspapers and stuff that you had to look. I saw something in a place called Ghatkopar, not Ghatkopar, Goregaon.
Goregaon, yeah.
So I Goregaon. So I called up the person. It was within the budget that I wanted and stuff. I didn't even know I'm supposed to look for Bandra because till then I was with Times of India. They took me, they brought me. I didn't even know where that I didn't know I was in a place called Bandra, that Bandra has value, that Bandra has meaning. But
Yeah.
that is where you should actually be when you're in this industry. I had no idea. So I spoke to somebody and they said Goregaon, and I asked the person, I said, Uncle, ye jagah Bandra mein hai? And he said, there was silence on the other end, and he said, हाँ, Bandra के पास ही समझिए. I said, Bandra से कितना पास? बहुत पास, एकदम train में पहुंच जाएंगे. So I ended up in Goregaon, East.
Yeah. By the way, I stay in Goregaon East. And
Okay.
I bought a place here because Ogilvy
It's
was here.
beautiful. Ogilvy's moved there also, yeah.
So Ogilvy was here, so I bought a place.
Oh, it's not there anymore?
Now we have shifted to right next to the international airport. So now I'm confused. So
No, but at least east to east you can make it. Oh, no, wait. No. I was in Goregaon West, not east. Sorry. I was in Goregaon West. Kind of close to the station, which means you can imagine the areas and stuff, right? It was a disaster. I went in there and I remember thinking it looks so different. And because you live in Goregaon East, you can also vouch for how far is Goregaon East from Bandra.
and
Very far.
because you're absolutely right. For example, I'm a writer. I can live in Goregaon. I can live in Ghatkopar also. But for actors and models, Bandra is the place.
Yeah, I mean, in Goregaon, if you stepped out and you're a model with makeup on your face, they looked at you like you were weird. Whereas in Bandra, you're just a model. Nobody cares. No one looks at you like you're weird. And plus, there's a community of people who are like you. You get to talk to people. They help you out. You become friends. I had nothing. So I was there for 2 or 3 months and I had paid up like an advance. So I had to wait out 3 months and then I moved out of there. And so that's how lost I was, And then I was we used to go to famous studios a whole lot for like auditions. I had to meet people. And those days, there was no agencies in India. So there was no one that I could send my pictures to and they would do the work for me. So you had to individually send your pictures to production houses and you had to individually send your pictures to agencies. So you had to keep printing pictures, sending pictures with your telephone number written behind it. Hope to God that they see it. Hope to God that you get called. Sometimes like coordinators were the ones who would call you for all these things. And I got called and I went, and it's a long story, but cutting it short, it reached a point where I think I did an audition for Seagram's gin, I think, or whiskey, I don't remember. And it was an Ogilvy and Nethra ad. And I got selected for it. So that was my first ever exposure. Like I did a commercial very, very early in my thing. And because I had won the contest though, Hemant Trivedi knew of me. So I was doing a couple of shows through him, and then like a couple of the main show coordinators, they knew me. So they started sending me for auditions for shows because still they know you, right? Every choreographer wants to meet you. Every designer wants to meet you. So I used to go for these auditions and then slowly, like I did an audition with Meher. And I remember when I went to audition with Meher, I had just come back from Milan literally a month ago, right? So I had no concept of how to dress otherwise. In Milan, everybody dressed black. You wore these pants, you wore these shirts or dresses or tops, whatever it was black. You wore boots. So I went to this audition in black, like a black, nice shirt, pants, high-heel boots, in the middle of summer in Bombay to somewhere, the other Parsi, I remember. And I also remember Sheetal Malar came that day. And not to audition, she just came to meet Meher. But Sheetal came in pajamas and a ganji, in chappals. And I was there like this stuck up, right? Person, right? Meher also looked at me like this. She said, okay, walk. Okay, darling, walk. So, okay, darling, walked. And she said, you're good. I said, okay. She said, okay, now I'll talk to them and you can be booked for this show. And I was so excited. I said, oh my God, one more show. So I went out but as I was going, Meher is like, can I ask you something? I said, yeah. She goes, why do you dress like this, so uptight? And I said, oh my God, now I was like, see, now again, I don't know what I'm doing, because I thought I knew what I was doing, but I was like, now I don't know what I'm doing. So I said, I don't know, this is how I've always dressed. And she goes, where, darling? So I said, in Milan. And she goes, what were you doing there? So I told her. And she goes, oh, good, good. But now you're in Bombay, huh? So you can dress comfortably. See, Sheetal, dress like that. It's okay. You don't have to come like this. You must be hot, no? And I was like, yeah, I'm sweating. She goes, yeah, go. So that was it. So very soon I was back to my pajamas and ganjis, and me too was very happy. So since then till date, I dress, given a chance, in pajamas and ganjis. And anyway, so I was doing shows, and slowly but surely work began to speak for me. And I always took my work very seriously. So I would, I never drank, I never smoked, I never partied. So I was never late. I was never skipping shows. I was never turning up and not performing. And obviously also I could perform. Like if a choreographer, designer wanted a certain effect on ramp, I could and I did give it, which is how you keep getting booked. They don't know you, but when they see you on ramp, they go, she's got it. So then they will book you for one more show. And that's how it picks up. So literally within a year or so of being there, I was kind of doing well. And then, by then I moved back to Bandra and I was settled, and that's where it all started.
One thing I also wanted to ask you is that, while telling me this story, you've mentioned Meher, Sheetal Malar, earlier there was Madhu Sapre and all that. So, and Nethra, Raghuraman, and a lot of supermodels. But what happened, you think, that now I don't know who the supermodel is?
I hear that too often. I hear that too often from even the people who are still there.
Because all the showstoppers in all these Lakme Fashion Week and everything are Bollywood actors.
So what happened is that, at some point, look, when I started out, right, I had realized this a long time, realized that Bollywood was not a big thing. Bollywood was big. Being an actor was big, but they kind of stayed amongst each other. They didn't blend with people who were not from the industry. That was one thing. Then Bombay was full of these socialites, so-called, right? Moneyed. So there was all of that. And they had their own sections, and they had their own parties and everything. Then there were places, like a lot of cool places started opening at that time. So like, for example, Olive and All opened, right? So when Olive opened, you got a mix of society, you got a mix of models, some Bollywood people. Everybody began to come to that place because it was cool. But to be a part of that circle, to be a part of those parties, and a lot of what they show in movies is, a lot of it is bollocks. Pardon my language, but it is, because I have been a part of all of it. There is some truth in it, and there is a lot of, masala coated just so that it looks interesting enough for somebody. So one of the things was that if you were just Bollywood, they looked down upon you. You were a part of these circles not because you were Bollywood, not because you are a model, but because you could hold a conversation. You were not just the eye candy brought in. There might have been those also. But people like me who made it into these circles, we made it because we were not just eye candy. We could hold conversations.
Yeah.
We were a lot more than just being a model. Even if that was your profession, we were still a whole lot more than, an artist is an artist, but an artist can be a whole lot more than, not just a recluse.
But how was it? Because models are supposed to be just models.
Yeah. But then when you start talking, when you talk to a model, because she is just a model, and then you realize within a 2-minute conversation that I would never, I don't talk or behave like, I don't know what even the quintessential just model is supposed to be, because I am one and I am not that.
Yeah, because traditionally models are not supposed to think. They're supposed to, that's how people perceive it. So how
perceived it.
Yeah. So how did people take it when you started talking and started making sense? So
Yeah, and that's when they look at you and they go, "You're not just a pretty face." And I've heard that too many times in my life, and I'm like, and you're not just a, whatever. I would give it back to them. I'm like, "Oh, you're not just a businessman, or you're not just a whatever." I'm like, "Oh, you're not just an author. There's more to you too."
yeah,
And then they shame on, man, is what makes you think.
yeah,
So it was that. Look, this is the thing, right? You can't judge a person by the cover. You can't judge a person by their profession. You
yeah,
can't. There could be people in the most erudite of professions who would be daft beyond measure when it comes to life. And they could be people, I can have a conversation, and I have had conversations with a sweeper on the street who has given me words of wisdom that have stuck with me till date.
yeah. No, but that's the thing. Like, so from beginning, like you said, there are perceived notions of beauty in India, which haven't changed. You face that. Then there's a perception for everything. We have too many
Yeah,
blocks in our
yeah,
society. That,
yeah,
for example, I'm a writer, so I should carry a jhola with me. So I am not that kind of a writer.
yeah,
Yeah. So earlier, so now this is my lockdown look. Otherwise, because after some 6-7 months, I stopped shaving.
yeah.
What's the point now? I will
What's the
shave
point? I
once
agree.
I'll shave once I join office maybe in January. But I never thought, because people say you don't look like creative because you don't have long hair or a beard, and you take a bath every day, twice. What kind of a writer?
Hey, I can't smell you before you arrive. How come?
Yeah, so we have these boxes for everyone. So, like, for example, models can't think, and dusky can't be beautiful, and you have
Yeah.
fair and lovelies and everything now, which they have glow and lovely. They've changed the name.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's too late for that. Just to change the name.
It is but I feel like for whatever level, if there is a tiny, teeny amount of change, this only reason fair and lovely could change after God knows 30, 40 years is because somewhere the word fair now is not just considered beautiful.
Yeah,
There also is maybe a negative connotation to that.
yeah, but
So
that's still very urban. That's still very
it's
urban.
very urban. Oh,
Unfortunately,
completely.
yeah,
Any change we see in India till date is just urban.
yeah. So it's like
Rurally,
we have become
rurally, I see no change.
we have
If
become
anything, it's gotten worse.
hashtags. So it's just
True.
one hashtag after another every week. So now we are fighting for someone's justice. Next week we'll fight for someone else's justice, and we are just a country of hashtags now, and nothing else.
That is true. That is true, because it's not even, most of the times, it is not even our fight. Like
Yeah.
Me Too was a movement that we all jumped into in India, but the point is it didn't start there. It started elsewhere, and now it is Me Too across.
Yeah.
But how much of actual change have you been able to drive with it? And like when Black Lives Matter started there, I started reading Brown Lives Matter, and I was like,
A lot of people shared Black Lives Matter in India also. And
yes, they did.
yeah, we have our own
They
fight.
did, and it does, right? But you can't say Brown Lives Matter. Like I got a comment once from somebody I know there who said, I understand Brown Lives Matter, and Yellow Lives Matter, and Pink Lives Matter, and Lives Matter. I understand women matter, men matter, poor people matter, rich people matter. Please don't take away our fight from us. We have been fighting this for too long. We live in the midst of this. Please don't take this away. Create your own. And don't keep hashtagging different than.
Absolutely.
It is Black Lives Matter. And I was like, just reading it, like it was not for me. It was not aimed at me. But just reading it was like, I said, wow, man, like what, just because somebody says Brown Lives Matter and that resonates with me, and I start talking about it, we are taking away from what was originally theirs. So how about we not leave them theirs and create something of ours and then make it work?
No, that is absolutely true. We should create, like, for example, in India, the first thing we need to fight, according to me, which is so unique to us, is the caste system.
Yeah, I know. It's just...
which is what our Black Lives Matter is. We don't have Black Lives Matter in India, or even for that matter, Brown Lives Matter in India. The biggest problem we are facing is the caste system.
Caste system. Oh my God, it needs to be abolished. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be... And again, see, in the urban life, like where we live, right? Like for a very, very long time, I used to talk of India from where I see it. I live it. And I used to keep telling people, I'm like, I don't know what you guys talk about. Like, you know, this is us, this is who we are, and this is how we are, and this is how I live my life. And I am so free and I drive. And then you realize later, as you know, as you grow older and you start looking at life, like maybe even beyond your immediate circles, and you go, what I see is I'm very lucky. I live in this section. And even in this section, I am a model. And even that, I'm a successful model. You know, so
Yeah.
I see a very niche level of society. And what I see around me is colored by that. But
Yeah.
if I was to step back and look at life, my God, the problems,
No.
you know,
We have so
is
many,
so,
and
yeah, there is.
we
It
still have,
is, it is.
because we are not ready to change. That's why the problems we had thousands of years back, we still have those.
We still have it. You know, it's true though, like this is one of the huge things that India faces. And if you could just take that away, if
Yeah.
you didn't, you know, when I was in, you know, I grew up in Baroda, and there, I'm not even going to say it on this medium today, but there used to be a word which I have heard growing up, which was used as just a word. Anybody would use it on anybody. I've only heard it, right? Like suggesting dirty, like badly dressed or uncouth. That's what I thought it meant,
Okay.
because that's how it was used. Okay. So if you turned up like without a shower, bad looking clothes, bad whatever, they would say. And then you register that that's what the word by and large means. No one explained it to me, and I never asked. And my parents had never even heard the word. So forget about it, right? I never asked anybody. But on and off, like, yeah, if you were talking and friends and all as banter, you might also use it. Till I found out when I was about 15 or 16 years old what the word actually meant, where it was used. And it was actually a profession.
Yeah. No,
And it was that I found out that, you know, I cannot tell you, like I still remember I was 15 or 16, 15 going 16, because I was still yet to give my 10th grade exams. I remember standing there and I felt like somebody had slapped me across my face, because I stood there and I said, oh my God, it is somebody's job.
yeah.
And people use it as a bad word.
Yeah.
It is somebody's job. And if he didn't do his job, believe me, you would all be him. That word that you use, that would be you, because that is the job he does for you.
Yeah.
And it is one of my life lessons, actually. It changed a lot. So since then, like when I hear words that I don't know, which I use like bad words or slang words, I look it up. I never, ever, ever would let that come back to me as a conversation, because literally from that day. So even as I grew up, I had to ask people meaning of many different words, because, you know, I had to ask people, iska matlab kya hai?
Yeah.
And I used to be told, for God's sake, Nethra, I'm like, dude, I don't know these words. Yeah, I didn't grow up listening to all this. So it was a life lesson for me. And that's when I said, for me, the profession doesn't make you, money does not make you, the person makes you, the person that you are makes you. And that person comes across in every day, in every way. So,
You're absolutely right.
I mean, to each his own, though. For
people.
those who run by that.
It's illegal to say those words now, but people still use it. So, like,
Yeah. Please, I have to only go back. It's a Gujarati word. So if I go back to Baroda, I'll hear it. If I go back to Gujarat, I will hear it. I am sure. So, anyways, coming back to answer your question, right? Like, what happened to the whole supermodel era? I think a big thing that happened was Bollywood. Somewhere down the line, people started desperately seeking Bollywood. So even if you were, for a long time, showstoppers used to be, and this was caused by media. And that was caused by, I would say, in a way, the media agencies who control what got printed. So, you know, the front page of Times of India, the first picture that gets printed, which I believe costs a hell of a lot of money. I have been featured on it personally about 7 to 8 times, easily. And I can only remember those. And this is when I have specifically shot for it.
Okay.
Other than that, work that you do, if you've done like an ad or, you know, a campaign, or somebody's doing PR for their work, you automatically get featured. That is different. You know, I know because I have cuttings of the
Yeah.
Times of India. So this was Bombay Times, right? So it was huge. But at that time, people used to say, "Oh, Nethra, you're on the Times of India, you're in Bombay Times," and I'd be like, "Haan, theek hai. Haan, aane wala tha, mujhe pata hai." Because that's all it was. It was just a job for me. But for perception was there. So Bombay Times, for example, had begun to create this thing of who's there is somewhat important. And
Yeah.
slowly they began to monetize it, which makes sense. They began to say, we'll pay. And then somewhere, you know, movies began to pay to get their actors put up there. Then the actors became the it. And then that's what is my logic. Then it became necessary to get that actor to maybe walk for your show one time, because it allowed for the media to take a picture, and the media found that easier to get it printed, and also because the PR would somewhere pay for it, or, you know, the film that they were going to produce, or that would pay for it, was part of the PR budget of all these films, big money.
What happened to
So
yeah,
some
right? Sorry to.
no, but it's just that, you know, one leads to the other. So then it became a necessity to have, even if they were failed actors who you can't recognize, who have no personality, you know, we would all walk out, you show the clothes, you go back, there is an impact. And then this one little thing would walk out, no impact, trip and fall on a face. It didn't matter, because then when you went and stood for the PR thing, in the end, you stood nicely, they took pictures, they printed it. That's all the world saw. And I still remember I'd done something with Tarun Tahiliani where I was this showstopper. And I was the, you know, the Tahiliani bride at that time. And I did it. By this time, Bollywood had arrived. And when we went for the press conference later, they actually asked Tarun in as many words, what happened? You couldn't afford a showstopper. And Tarun, like, he's got this biting sense of humor. He just looked at them and he said, are you all blind? Can you not see this beautiful damsel standing next to me? She is the showstopper. They said, no, we see Nethra, we see her. She's looking very beautiful. Ah, Nethra, don't feel bad. You're looking beautiful, all of this. But we want to know, where is your showstopper? So it was a circle. At which point Tarun looked at me and said, what can I say? And we were laughing. It is that. It became that. So then you had to get a showstopper. And slowly, you know, the advertisements went to them. And we've all done commercials. Yeah, I've done commercials for Tanishq. And like, I have friends who've done it for Pepsi. And, you know, like, they did these things. They were models who would be next to a Salman Khan for Pepsi.
Yeah.
But over a period of time, if any other actress is ready to be next to you,
Yeah.
they would want that, because then they get big money. So the actor and actress get paid big money, but they feel that their return because of all the PR is also as big. It makes, you know, it makes logical sense when so much money is involved. So I think one led to the other, and suddenly it's resulted in the profession of modeling not having supermodels. And also, when we started, you had to have X amount of personality. Otherwise, you could never make it. You had to be an individual. Like with me, there were people like Tapur Tukur, Nina Manuel, you know, Fleur Xavier, Dipanita Sharma. We all used to walk together. Sheetal Malar. Sheetal was still my senior. This is my lot of girls. And if you couldn't, like Lakshmi, you know, Lakshmi, Sonalika, Sapna, all of these girls from Delhi, Carol, you could not look away when these girls walked down the ramp, because each one was an individual. Like when they walked down, whether they were conventionally beautiful or not, your eyes stopped and you followed the garment because the garment looked good. That's what a model needs to do for you. Yeah. And that is also lost now, because if you're tall and you're thin, you're a model. Then
yeah, and again,
get what you give.
like you said, you when you were younger, you thought that, you know, you're so tall that you won't get a guy. So the same thing with models. If you're so tall, you won't get movies because all the actors are shorter than you.
Yeah. That did happen. In my first movie, I was paired opposite Rahul Bose, who is anyway shorter than me.
Yeah.
But Govind, I did my first movie with Govind Hilani, and also because I wasn't hunting for movies. It's just that I have tremendous respect for him, and I've seen all his movies. I used to watch all this art house cinema. so like Akrod and Ardha Satya, these were my movies. So I grew up watching only those. I was never interested in like normal Bollywood because it just seemed so far removed from reality. So I remember watching one of Govind's very like art house movie called Party. It was called Party or The Party. It
Okay.
was about a Bombay social life party, like inside someone's house. I loved it because it talked about the intricacies of relationships between people and the little screws that move in different ways. And oh my God, I loved it. So being called by Govind, I could not believe it because I was like, why is he calling me? Then I met him and he said that I would like you to, come and do this movie. And I said, I'm not an actor. He said, believe me, you can act. And I said, if you believe me, then I'll come work with you because I trust you. And I was like, that's it. So that's how I got Takshak. And then I had to go audition in front of the entire unit, which I didn't know was an audition. He called me to the unit one day. I went and then he just said, "Ha Nethra, ruko, shot khatam ho raha hai." When the shot got over, he came to me and he said, like, what do you, tell me your, what songs do you like? So I couldn't think of anything. So I used to love the songs of Kurbani. So I said, Kurbani. And then he said, गाना बोलो उसमें से तो I said कोई सा भी गाना and I think I chose आप जैसा कोई and or one of the other songs, actually I don't remember which one I chose, but he went and within 5 minutes there was a Kurbani CD being plugged in, music started playing and he said, come, let's have an audition, dance. And I stood there in my, like I had come off a show, so I was wearing my regular, pajama ganji look. And I was like in chappals and I looked at him and I said, where? What dance? He says, now, just move. I don't want you to dance. I don't want choreography. I need to hear if you have a rhythm, I just need to see the rhythm in you. And I was standing there going, by then the entire unit, every light man, every sound guy, every person was standing around. Everybody was looking, like I think Ajay Devgan was also, he went by, he just looked and he did this and he went and I was standing there going, oh my God, what am I in the middle of? So anyways, I did what I did and he said, good. 5 minutes later, he said, chalo, good, go home. I'll be in touch with you. That was it. And then I got my movie. And it was my first Bollywood movie, which I didn't realize was full on Bollywood. I had to sing and dance. And it threw me off completely. Then I got my second movie. I was asked to test for Bhopal Express and I got the movie. And, that was a complete out and out, my kind of movie. It was acting through and through, which I loved. And I won awards. Like I won awards for Bhopal Express also. I won the Screen Debutante Award and something else. But, the thing, and that of course, catapults you as a model to a higher level. And, and by then I was doing, those days, a lot of these videos used to be made, music videos.
Yes.
So I had done many music videos and then places like MTV and Channel V and all used to have their 2-minute clips, right, between programs. So they used to keep calling people like us. So I was practically everywhere.
And Bhopal Express, both were extremely meaningful movies. Those movies are not like typical Bollywood masala movies, and one with Rahul Bose, Ajay Devgan, Tabu, 3 really good actors. Ajay Devgan being in a mainstream, but he is a very good actor who's done a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
And the second was against K.K. Menon. So
and Nasiruddin Shah. I had Nasir in the film with me.
Yeah.
And Vijay Raj was the other actor. Great actors.
Yeah, great actors. So it was very unusual for a model,
Yeah.
Again, the perception.
It was.
It
was. But see, all these things, as you see, began to cement the perception of me not being just a model. And it also built my confidence of realizing that I'm not just a model. So I did all of this. I have done television shows. I've hosted many shows on many channels on TV, including Bloomberg and National Geographic and Star and, Star Plus, Z. I've done the typical channels also, and I've done these offbeat ones also. And there were like tons of things we've done with FTV and Channel V and MTV. Did all that also. So it was, never a reason to complain. And work was, and plus, like I said, I did music videos, and there were shoots. And I kept doing things and work just carried on. That's about it. I just kept working.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we stop to think um, what next. It's just literally it was one job after the other job after the other job after the other job, and
And
I
now that
just would thank my stars and do it.
no, but touch wood, you've done everything. You know.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm truly lucky because I also did a whole lot of photo shoots, right? I've also been on the covers of magazines,
yes.
photo shoots inside as well as on the covers, and good ones, to make it to the top of like Bazaar or, to be Harper's Bazaar and Vogue. There's been that also.
Yeah.
So it literally is a career that spans everything. And I've realized that kind of truly not compensates, that kind of truly explains or gives a definition of what you would call a supermodel.
Yeah.
And of course it is very important to be working with the top designers. If a designer calls you his muse, or if you start working with them constantly and you're always booked for all the top shows. So I just like, for things, yeah, it was a lot of hard work and I've never once stopped working hard for anything. Simultaneously, there was also, definitely an X amount of goodwill, good luck. And even when I've gone through some of my lowest of times, I will say this, that the same media, right, that everybody complains and says whatever the media is causing this and that. I will also say this, there was this one time that I was going through a very low phase in my life, personal life. And, the media is, they say that they make like, everybody say they're like vultures and they'll make money out of this. They are the same people who have walked up to me and said, Nethra, I know you're going through something. Jane do. Or, like, this is, I was with somebody at that time and like we were having this huge fight or whatever, right? And this is, it used to happen sometimes without you wanting to in public. And it's very easy. Like today's day and age, I think it would get printed, plastered everywhere. I mean, this is also people take videos, right? People post
Yeah.
it and all. That is a very different world today.
Yeah.
But at this time, the only people with the cameras who could take pictures would be the photographers. And the tailpiece could have very easily been me, found arguing with whatever, could have very easily been me. But the same guys would come up to me and say, I hope you're okay, stay well. Aapko kuch madad chahiye to please boliye. And I say this, like, this is what I say, for every person that you call bad, there are 3 people you can call good. You just, hopefully you're lucky enough to come across them. Sometimes you need to be able to see it in them. Sometimes you have to be a person that elicits this response from others. So whatever that
Yeah.
works.
Also the way you behave with people, and
Yeah.
it's also like, because if you are like, if you always behave like a brat, and and like I'm a celeb and all that, like
Yeah.
walk over people, then it's like the old saying that you meet the same
Yeah.
people while coming down.
Yeah.
So so it also depends on how you behave with people when you were going up. So
Yeah,
now
exactly.
I want to talk about what you're doing now. So
Yeah.
because you're doing completely different. You've been a supermodel, you've been an actor, and now you are an entrepreneur. You're doing, So please tell us about, what you're doing right now.
So over the last few years, I've been living here in Singapore. And I was coming and going to Bombay. And even now, if not for COVID, I would have been in Bombay for a few months this time also. And the plan was to start working again over there. And otherwise, previously, I would come and go. And I would just come and do some commercials or some shoots. Because those are the things you can do like last minute, right? You just walk in there, there's a shoot happening, you'll be a part of it. Then you leave. So I was doing those things. But then over the last couple of years, like my daughter's school started taking, you have to give preference and precedence to things. So for me, in my case, the preference was obviously you have to run your life around. Like for me, at least, I would rather run my life around her school schedule. So then it became a case of I need to be here a lot more because I don't want her to grow up away from her dad. As adults, we can manage. We can travel between countries and cities and be in touch and everything. But as a child, you need, if you have the blessings of, all that is good in life, and you can be around both your parents. It is the nicest thing for a child, provided the parents are sane and normal. I will say this. Yeah. I've had some of my friends who've said, "Are you daft? The best thing that could have happened to me was to not be around them." I was like, sorry, I only come from what I know, right? This is what I have seen. So, but it has opened up my mind and understanding to the fact that not everybody comes from the same kinds of backgrounds, even like family wise. So you have to be understanding of what they have seen growing up, not just how they are today, because today they are a culmination of too many things of the past.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my life lessons, the fact that I was always extremely perceptive to things that happened around me, and to the fact that I have always remained grounded through and through, whatever came my way. Like even when I was considered here at the pinnacle of my work, I never treated people differently, and I never behaved differently. So today, if I'm not, in a place where people know me as a supermodel or whatever, it doesn't make a difference to me, because I'm still the same person. I'm still in my pajamas and my ganjis. So life is great, so I stayed stable, which was a blessing, but that allowed me to see life from very, very different perspectives, to see people's perspectives, and the fact that I could always connect with people at whichever level that they were at. So if I can hang around with an 80-year-old and have a conversation with them, as much as I've realized I can hang around with 3, 4, 5-year-olds, take care of them and be great with them. I'm great. The kids love me, and I know I know this for a very long time, that I can sit with the old people of the century and just like have the most amazing conversations with them. So you kind of realize that there is a way in which you're able to connect. So I wanted to do something which took all this and, all of my experiences. Of course, the most normal thing is to go, you extend your modeling life. That's the normal thing, or your celebrity life. People start agencies and, you become a teacher, or you teach, or you run your own schools. All of this is possible, or even acting, if that's more long-standing, or behind the cameras scenarios. But for me, all of this would only happen if I was more in India, because that is where I am as famous as I am, right? Outside of, it's a very limited population that would know me. And I am not the kind to go out anywhere and tell anybody that, oh, I used to be a model, or I am a model. I never say these things. I walk in and I am the mother of the child. That's how they know me. No one knows me as anything more unless they recognize me or something. So I had an option to take what I did in my life, because otherwise I'm not trained. I have not given 20 years of my life to a job which gives me the seniority in that, right? It is not. Mine was a self-employed job that allowed me an amazing life's worth of experiences. I have had experiences that people can not even dream of, and some of them have been like scary. Some of them I can laugh about these things now because I'm safe, but some are absolutely scary when I went through it. But they were all life lessons, or they were just educational, or they were fun, or they were experiences. And then I also, by the way, in between about 12 years ago, roughly, or 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I think, I started going down the path of meditation.
Yeah.
I joined Art of Living, and it was life-changing. And it was great for me because I used to have a lot of energy. Like it was as if I'm this Energizer bunny, like I used to be the whole time, right? I didn't know what to do with the energy I had. And joining them and working, like following Art of Living and stuff was great for me, because it brought me down to where I know to control my energy. Okay. So it really taught me that. So, and then I continued, I moved on, like I don't still practice the Kriya and stuff, but then I moved down different paths of meditation. But I've always stayed in that space. And so when it came now time to do something more, I had two options. One was to go down the path of what I have done, which I didn't know how to do, as modeling and all of that. I really didn't know what to do with. The other thing was this. And this for me seemed more real. So I gone down the path of, I got certified in mindfulness. And to this, I bring maybe not 20 years of my modeling career, but I bring, you know, all my life's experiences, including 20 years of my modeling career, including my 10 years of or 12 years of my space into this, into spirituality and truly accepting and opening up and understanding the world as far as I can, to constantly learning in which places, you think you don't judge. Then suddenly you go, oh my God, look, I am judging them. I am judging. This is judgment. This is judgment. And to constantly keep working on yourself to say, gotta change. You have to be understanding of. So I decided to go down that path, and I became, I kind of now, I counsel, I speak, and I teach mindfulness. So I help people clear their blocks, because people come with baggage. Yeah. Very, very few people have been able to clear their baggage or deal with it. Most people hide their baggage, and one day that baggage comes to hit them on the head hard. So I help people truly clear their baggage, reduce their blocks, or just free them through the process of a program that I have written, which is based on acceptance on the principles of mindfulness. So it's got meditation and mindfulness built into it as a base, but in that I bring acceptance into it, and through that I sit, we counsel, we talk, we meditate. And this program it's malleable. It can be changed to suit the person, what the person's needs are. So if it's young children, I will change it to suit that. If it is, very young children, the program is different. But, teenagers, what they deal with, body issues, relationship issues, the need to be in a relationship to feel complete, which is not true. Your relationship should be with yourself, and you should feel complete.
So meditation is so important, and a lot of us, especially now in India, we don't take it seriously. And we are the hub of meditation.
We are the people that is it.
Yeah, and we don't take it seriously, and we think that meditation is for old people. When you're through everything, but it is so important. And
it is so important.
The power is so beautiful, so wonderful.
Yeah. I am a better person. I am a much, much better person ever since I stepped into Art of Living that one time. I changed. And I said, your journey will change. What you do might change. But it changes you. Meditation and this path of meditation changes you. I'm not even saying spirituality. You may be an atheist, but you can still be an atheist and meditate.
Yeah.
Because, and that's another thing, like when I came here and I was trying to go down this path, people used to keep asking me, which type of meditation do you teach, or where are you, what are you trained in? And I used to keep saying, where I come from, it is not which type of meditation do you teach. It's meditation. Then I realized where I am, these things matter. And that's when I said, okay, so if I need a certificate to be able to give a tag to it, what tag would I give it? And I said, this is the best tag, because I like that this, what I do, mindfulness, is actually secular. So it has no religion associated with it. That's the whole reason mindfulness started, because it's got nothing to do, it takes in my meditation practices. There are other mindfulness practices, but it is secular. So we don't approach it from religion at all. If I'm talking to somebody who associates with a religion, I can talk to you in relation to that because I understand it. But, if they will, I can go today to a church and preach to all of them, even though I'm a Hindu, it doesn't matter. Because I'm not teaching you my religion, and I'm not taking yours away from you. I'm only teaching you meditation, mindfulness practices, and asking you to be free.
Yeah. And meditation is in every religion. And if you just...
it's in every religion.
In every religion, it's a very important part of every religion. And if you, like you're saying, if you do it in a secular way, and if, for example, I'm a Muslim, if you tell me what to do, I'm not taking away my religion, then why not?
Why not, right? It's not trying to preach.
It's not trying to
That's what I said. If anything, we have over a period of time, right, with because mindfulness has a lot of empirical proof. That's another reason why I went through it, because there is proof, clear proof that it helps.
Yeah.
Like, because papers are written on it, people are doing constant experiments on it and reading on it and writing on it. So every year there are like 1,000 papers written on just this and how this is the right approach. That's another reason I chose it. But like, when you think about it, there's actually scientific proof that if you approach any person of any religion following mindfulness, will find that their connect with their religion becomes stronger.
Yeah.
Because at no way are you being separated from your religion or from your faith. It's just, it actually makes, so it can make relationships stronger, it can make faith stronger, it can make your spirituality stronger, and it gives you strength.
And
so
I don't know whether there's a scientific proof for that or not, but all the spiritual people, you can feel that kind of, you say noor around them. When you talk to them, you feel good, you feel happy, because there's nothing negative about those people. It's all positive. And that noor, it's around them, and sometimes you also get covered in that noor.
You can also get covered through that.
Yeah.
It's, they say that if you can, that's what I said, like, I've had a conversation with a sweeper once, and something he said about people, it stayed with me. And I say that man had such a positive, jo aap keh rahe hain, noor, there's the same thing, it's aura, right? He had such a positive aura around him that I felt like it touched me. And it touched me because I accepted a portion of what he said. And somewhere that comes to you. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. फकीर जिसे बोलते थे पहले टाइम में, जो फकीर होते थे, भिखारीज, फकीर मतलब, fakirs used to be more enlightened than the kings.
Yeah.
Always be like that, because they attained, and then
because they realize that what you hold on to has no value. It's just who you are and how you are that has value. So
so beautiful. So on this note, Nethra, I'm gonna end this conversation. I can go on for another 3-4 hours, but I don't
know. But no one's going to listen for so long. So even this may be too long. Let's say bye.
Let's see. And thanks a lot for doing this. Thank you very, very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. And someday, hopefully, we'll meet past COVID nonsense.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, all the very best.
Thank you very much. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.